What is going on, everybody? Welcome to December 1st. Probably not the greatest way to start out a video, but welcome back to the channel, guys. And today is obviously Wednesday, which means a new summit is now live here on Motorfest. It's also going to be the last month until like the next Season 2 update, which is obviously going to be based on Hoonigan. And we also get all of the vehicles that we did have from like the Season 9 update back on the crew too. So I am honestly mad excited for it. But besides that, though, we obviously will be looking at each summit here. So the first one is going to be the European Qualität. I think I said that right. This is going to have the lovely American Dream Kit as the Platinum reward, which I would say is going to be a very interesting sounding. I think that's going to be an audio signature. And then in gold, we have 100,000 bucks. And then, of course, in silver, guys, we have some... No. And then, of course, in silver, we also have some Hypercard legendary parts, which is always going to be helpful. And then, of course, in bronze, we also have 5,000 spare parts, which is honestly not that much compared to the crew, too. And then moving over to the next summit, guys, European Velocita. I'm most likely completely ruining the names of these summits, but in this one, guys, we're going to see the Italian Nitro in Platinum, the Maserati MC12 in Gold, and then, of course, in Silver, we're going to see 10 Legend points, which I would say is, and then, of course, in Silver, guys, is going to be pretty helpful, 10 Legend points. That is, of course, if you actually did, like, the XP glitch, so you're most likely not going to need those, but in Bronze, guys, we have 50,000 XP toward the main stage. And then moving over to the next summit, guys, European Elegance, we are also going to see the Renault RS01 on the cover, which I would say looks like an Audi R8. We're also going to see the Citroën Rallycross car on the left, and also the lovely Bugatti Chiron, but for this, guys, we're actually going to see the French Touch smoke return once again. You're most likely going to recognize this smoke from the crew too, so if you never actually got this one back in the day, at least there is another chance now. And we're going to have the gold, which is going to be 100,000 bucks. We're going to have ourselves some gold racing parts, and then 5,000 spare parts in bronze. And then moving over to the next summit, guys, European Luxury. This is also going to be the car you actually saw in that one cutscene, so it's obviously going to be a Jaguar and or a Jaguar. Let me know in the comments below what is the actual right way to say that. I feel like it's like tomato tomato, but on basically any commercial on TV, I always hear them say Jaguar, so I basically always call it that. But whenever I'm here looking at one of these cars at like a car show, everybody says Jaguar, so honestly, which one is it? And then, of course, guys, the last one is going to be the final battle up until the next update here on Motorfest, which is obviously Season 2. I honestly have no idea what the name of that Platinum reward is, but from the looks of this, it's most likely going to be an Underglow, which I would say many people probably won't care too much for. But now moving over to the summit here, guys, I would say this one's honestly going to be pretty dang fun. Like, I had a great time in basically every event. If you are wondering, by the way, you can use the exact same two cars in every single event. So that's going to be the Porsche and or Porsche, again, Jaguar and or Jaguar. But regardless though, guys, you can use the 918 Spyder in basically most of the hypercar events here. And then for all of the tier 2 street races, you can also run the new R8 V10 Spyder, which, by the way, I absolutely love the way that Audi does sound. Like, I am honestly kind of heartbroken that Audi is not making the R8 V10 anymore. Like, that is honestly low-key depressing. But for this summit, though, guys, I would say the biggest thing here is to obviously have great pro settings, and or probably some good part builds is obviously going to help. But for this, guys, the first one is going to be a Speedtrap. I'm not going to lie, I did not honestly do great on this one, but I really wasn't feeling this one too much and or really wanting to try, so I basically pulled out the Chevrolet Corvette C7 Stingray, lined up perfectly with the objective, and went as fast as I possibly could. And then moving over to the next skill, guys, is indeed going to be an escape. So for this one, I would say an Alpha GP and or like a hypercar is probably going to be the best options on this one because, you know, they're obviously insanely quick and or they do go like the fastest overall, but do keep in mind a hypercar is indeed faster than the Alpha GP class, at least on Motorfest, so if you are looking to go a lot faster, that's probably the class you do want to pick. But for me, I actually decided to run the Alpha Mark II, which I have to say is going to be a great car overall. Now, I was not running any settings on this car, so I really was actually pretty dang surprised how good this car did handle. And then for the last skill, guys, is indeed going to be a slalom. So for this one, I decided to use a street tier 1 Don't get me wrong though, a tier 2 ender like a racing slash hypercar is obviously quicker, but where's the fun in that if you actually do not use some oddball classes in these summits? So a tier 1 guys can easily compete with many of the other classes, regardless of how fast they actually are. But now jumping into the events here, guys, the first one's going to be Warm It Up, which is indeed with the Porsche 918 Spyder. I have to admit, guys, back on the Crew 2, this car was obviously not that great, but it honestly is insane how good the 918 Spyder actually is on Motorfest. Like, I would even go as far as saying this might be one of the best hypercars in the game at the moment, not only from its overall speed, but also the way this car does handle. Like, it really is going to be that good. I also had a great time using it, but do keep in mind, guys, one of the events is going to be in the dirt, so spin it around is going to be stock around the clock, aka like the circular dirt race that you can do with basically any class vehicle in Motorfest. But for this, guys, you actually have the luxury of using a hypercar. Now, I would say a hypercar in the mud is like seeing a polar bear in Florida. You can do it, but you probably shouldn't, and it most likely makes absolutely no sense. But the biggest thing here though, guys, I would recommend being careful on that throttle, especially on the corners. I did find basically going like half throttle and or doing like 95 to 100 is probably going to be one of the safest ways, but on the straightaways, guys, you not only can be a lot faster, you can actually hit around 140 pretty easily. And then for the next event, guys, is going to be Make It Jump, which is indeed a race that you can use any car based in Germany. So basically any Porsche and or Audi for that matter. But for me, guys, I am indeed going to be the oddball using the Audi R8 V10 Spyder in basically every race in this summit. So is it going to be the best overall option versus like the Porsche 911 and or like the GT slash GT3? I would probably say no, but luckily, guys, the Audi R8 is indeed going to be pretty dang decent overall, and I really am liking the way this car does sound, but not only that though, it handles pretty dang well. And then for the last event here, guys, with the hypercar, you obviously get to run any car based in Germany, so you can use like a Mercedes-Benz and or like a Porsche. For me, I actually decided to once again use the 918 Spyder, so this is basically going to be like a beat the clock type of event. So you basically go as fast as you obviously can, not having to worry about any AI whatsoever, so I would say that's obviously going to be a great plus there. And they can't run you off the road like they normally would try to, but overall, though, guys, I would say you really can't go wrong with a Mercedes-Benz and or like the 918 Spyder, so if you are kind of wondering which car to run, I would say either one's going to be a great option. Do be careful because the biggest thing about this event is how fast you can get around those corners. And then for the next two events here, guys, I would actually say the Make It Drift is probably going to be a fairly simple event. You also get to run the lovely R8 V10 Spyder, which I really do love this car, but you also have to run this vehicle on the bottom event as well, which, by the way, Wrap It Up is probably going to be the weirdest event you can possibly see a street car in, so you're obviously going to be jumping all over the place, and even in some places you also have to jump onto a rooftop, which for a second honestly made me feel like Sly Cooper, like the Thievius Raccoonus really is jumping back in. I may have to go back and play one of those games, but overall, guys, I would say even though this event is not made for the R8, it did pretty dang good overall. But that will basically wrap up the entire summit here, guys. I do feel like many players are by far going to like this one. You not only get to warm up the entire time and or basically try to climb to the top of the actual ranks, you will most likely jump in your actual times in these set events, so I guess you could spin it around and or be as fast as you possibly can, and or most likely drift and or lose some time there. But if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.